Dr. Ravi Batra with us here for this hour. He will be taking your calls after the bottom of the hour, thoughts on micro or macroeconomics. Keep in mind, he's not an investment counselor or advisor. We're talking about the bigger picture here. And Ravi, let's just recap the problem. You know, this whole issue of how economies work and why is it that there's all this confusion about supply and demand, and in the minds of so many people after 30 years of Reaganomics and preaching by Cato and Heritage and all these other right-wing think tanks, getting people their brains all scrambled, and what kind of, how you put an economy back together versus what we've done so far.
Well, they never talk about supply and demand. That's the trouble. They always talk about everything else except supply and demand. You watch any of these big shows, they'll say, okay, cut taxes, corporate taxes, and they'll create jobs. Why? Why would they create jobs? I mean, companies will hire more people only if they are selling more. Just because you cut corporate taxes, why would they start selling more? So this is the problem. They confuse the people by not focusing on the fundamentals. The fundamentals, as you just said, are supply and demand. But what is behind this supply and demand? The main source of supply is productivity. The main source of demand are people's wages. So for the past 30 years or so, productivity has been rising very fast thanks to the computer revolution, to the internet and so on, but wages have been stagnant. So the result is supply was going faster, rising faster than demand. So then the Greenspan and company and the Republican governments and even Clinton governments, to some extent Clinton also, they came up with a very neat artifact. It's an artifact because artificial strategy. They started to create more and more debt through excessive government spending and by bringing interest rates down so that people will be lured into more debt.
So debt basically has replaced wages as the thing that drives demand and thus drives and creates and stimulates the economy.
That's right.
Over the past decade.
That's right. They replace wages by the debt creation, and they said, well, this is great. And for a while, this was great because this kind of economy raises profits very sharply because the fruit of rising productivity goes entirely into the pockets of the CEO. Yeah. And the CEO finances the campaigns of politicians, so they had a great party, and the result, there were also lots of stock market bubbles as a result. So everything was great for them, and the world was fooled into thinking, well, Greenspan and company have created a great economy of the kind that has never been seen before.
Right, and it was all smoke and mirrors based on debt over the last 30 years.
Exactly.
We have about 30 seconds.
Magic role of the debt.
We have about 30 seconds before the break, Ravi. We're talking with Ravi Batra, RAVIBATRA.com, his website. In summary, the solution really is increase wages right across the board, right?
That's right. That will be the solution, fundamental solution. I mean, instead of spending money on bailing out banks and bailing out Wall Street, it's better to spend money to raise wages, or to follow policies that will raise wages, or to spend money to raise wages.
Right.
Because then people will be. Also, there's another reason why. If you give them tax cuts, they may or may not spend that money because people think that tax cuts with such huge deficits are temporary.
Yeah, it's a short fix. It's a fast high, but it produces no lasting benefit. Ravi Batra is with us. He'll be taking your calls 866-303-2270 right after the break. His website RaviBatra.com. Check out his books.